blessed good morning to all. It is indeed a joy to continue to be with you during these mornings as we go through the season of Lent and as we day by day continue to work out that journey that is ours, trying to understand our purpose, trying to understand our call and the real path that is ours. You know, we are oftentimes led to believe that it is a simple thing, but it is really not a simple thing. It is in many ways very complex because there's so many moving parts to our lives. And it reminds me oftentimes of the labyrinth, and the labyrinth is a meditative exercise where you're walking something like a maze. But the thing about the labyrinth, which is different from the maze, with the maze you can go down a dead end and then you have to turn around. But the labyrinth doesn't have any dead ends. You just keep walking until you get to the center. And what it is about it that reminds me of life is that the labyrinth, as you walk it, there are times when you feel that you're right there, right next to the center, and perhaps the next turn will take you into the center and you will be in the center. But that next turn takes you almost all the way back out and right across to the other side. And you realize that you're no closer to the center. You're not there yet. But as you persevere and as you walk the labyrinth, a moment comes when you arrive and you know that you are there. Through all the wanderings, the meanderings, all these things, just stay on the path, stay with the work, and you will come to that point that you desire. So we do that, and we try our best day by day to stay on the path and to continue even when we feel as though we're going in the wrong direction. We stay on the path and we are convinced that God is guiding us every step of the way. And here's where we are now. In this moment, we are present. All of life is around us, but we are in a sense separate from all of it in this moment. There's nothing we lack. There's nothing we need. We are here. And I want you to be aware and be conscious of the fact that you are right here. Right in this moment, in the fullness of your being. There's nothing missing from you. There's nothing that you're lacking. As you bring your attention into your heart with gratitude for this opportunity to simply be. In most of our lives, we are hardly ever content with just being. We want. We want to do this. We want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with doing, but we must also balance that doing with simply being and recognizing the value of being, especially when we know that a time comes when we can no longer do, we can only be. And that time is not necessarily the end of our life. That time may just be the moment where we are no longer able to work. The moment when we are no longer wanted at work. The moment when we can no longer physically do anything for ourselves. Whatever the cause. And all that we have is being. But if we make no effort to engage in being while we are still able to do, when we can no longer do, we feel that there is nothing for us in this world. Because we have no understanding of being. No practice that invites us to be. We have made doing, achieving, getting our complete world. It is not. It is not even the larger part of who we are. It is less than our being. Because none of it is possible if we are not. So practice being. Practice becoming accustomed to this awareness of existence. And explore the fullness of existence within. Simply allow. Allow yourself to be. The passage I want to share this morning is coming out of John's Gospel, that 4th chapter. And I want to read from verse 47. But it tells of a story in the life of Jesus where an official in the area of Galilee had a son who was in Capernaum, and he was extremely ill. And when the official heard that Jesus had come to Galilee, he went and begged him to come down and heal his son, who was at the point of death. Jesus retorts that unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe. But the official said to him, "Sir, come down before my little boy dies." Jesus said to him, "Go, your son will live." The man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and told the man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and started on his way. As he was going down, his slaves met him and told him that his child was alive. So he asked them what hour did he begin to recover, and they said about 1 in the afternoon the fever left him. And the father realized that this was the same hour that Jesus had said, "Your son will live." So he himself believed along with all of his household. Life brings with it so many challenges, and we are constantly being faced with the various things that occur in our world, in our lives. And we are at times in a serious mess, trying to find a way forward, trying to understand what is it that we must do. In this little story this morning, we find an official who no doubt would have heard of Jesus. But it is interesting that John records this as the second miracle that Jesus did. And so there's a sense in which one can wonder to what extent did this official have an awareness of the ability of Jesus. But be that as it may, the fact remains that he wanted to save his son, and he was desperate. So even though Jesus retorted that people won't believe unless they see signs, he ignored the comment, and he just brought Jesus back to what was important. He needed his son to be made whole. whatever it took. And so Jesus said to him, "Go ahead, your son lives." And that's all he needed to hear. He didn't ask Jesus, "No, I want you to come." He just received the word, and for him it was enough. It was enough. And then that faith was confirmed by those who came out to meet him to let him know that his son was alive. This unfolding of Jesus' ministry is something new. It was new in the community. And it was challenging. Because these weren't things that were occurring before. And so, while those who were recipients of these wonderful miracles would have been rejoicing, no doubt others would have been puzzled at what was going on. Where do we put this? There's also the reality that it is unlikely that Jesus healed every sick person that was around in his time. There were probably some that weren't healed or didn't get to him. And so even there is that challenge. Why this one and not that one? There's so many questions we have in our world. And I don't know if it has been your experience, but it seems like over the last few years, so much has been coming up and being questioned. So much is being challenged. So much that has been accepted as the way things are. So much is being challenged and not accepted as it was in the past. I don't know if it's because it's the information age. I don't know if it's because this is the time when this is supposed to happen. I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that almost every area of our lives is being challenged. And in many ways we are being put in a place where we feel as though we have been betrayed by one institution or another. It's interesting that, just to show you an extreme to some extent, for eons people have been talking about unidentified flying objects, UFOs, being spotted in different places, especially on the North American continent. And even talk of a crash. And time and time again authorities have said, no, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. But we know there are certain protocols and policies where after a certain time, even things that were held secret are to be offered to the public. And much of what persons would have spoken of over those years, authorities are now making statements to indicate that yes, these things did occur. And I believe that it might very well be because of this kind of testimony or this kind of honesty only because it's the time, that many are beginning to question what else? What else? don't we know? What other areas have we accepted that are questionable? And so there is a movement, as it were, to in a way lift up all the boulders of life as we know it, to see what's under there, to see what has been withheld from us. And it seems like though no institution has been spared this. The thing though is to not just expose for the sake of exposing, but to be able to recognize that as humans live in society, we need some order. But I guess what's being asked for is that whatever order that is that we exist under, that order be an honest order. That order does not in any way inflate or seek to control or to dominate, but is basically on a level of cooperation and sharing, a mutual journeying. For me, this seems to be the evolving order of the day. But in order for it to come into effect, I believe we all will have to come to a place where we're willing to first of all accept that there has been hidden stuff. There has been stuff that has been put in place with ulterior motives, not necessarily for the good of all, oftentimes for the benefit of the few. Can we take on this? Are we able as yet? I think whether we are able to take on this at this time or not, I believe it's occurring. It's unfolding. And so that there isn't serious disruption and destruction in our world, in our communities as we know them, I think it is imperative that we reflect on all the institutions, on all the things that we have held dearly, and determine, as far as we are at this journey, at this juncture of our lives, are they truly serving us? Or did they have another agenda? And help each one of us to help to structure a more amicable society. One that each person is valued in. One in which each person feels like a self and matters. I believe this is crucial for us if we are to go beyond where we are, if we are to avoid serious disruption and serious destruction. So that, for example, the extreme case of those living in the Amazon who are threatened constantly by persons coming in to destroy their environment, either by drilling for oil or by removing the trees, at the detriment not only of those living there but the rest of us as well. That we as a world would be able to say no. No, find some other alternative. There must be other ways without destroying this livelihood and lives of this group of persons and our environment as a whole. We have got to move beyond that selfish place of doing it because it's what I want and it's to benefit me. You've got to move beyond that. It'll take time and it will be an upheaval. But we need to at least begin to think from a more mutual place of engagement. And hopefully change the direction of our world and bring healing as opposed to what may seem like impending destruction. Let's bring healing. Just like Jesus brought healing to that family who were looking down the face of impending death of a child. Let's see what we can do in our small areas of life, beginning with ourselves. Let's see what we can do. How we can seek day by day to be more of who we are and not who we want to be or who others want us to be. Little by little. It will not happen overnight. But we have to be patient with ourselves. But we also have to be persistent as well.
Time to